Hello, and welcome to our review of The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Episode 9. As you can see, we have our little poster here that we got from the theaters where we've seen it too many times. I think you're on your third right now. I'm on my 7th, and I still got 2 more to go. Because it's Episode 9, you have to see it 9 times if you like it. And we like it. I think that we like it.
Just a little bit.
Like
no,
it.
I really, really enjoyed it.
I did too. We're doing this review almost 2 months from its release. A lot it had to do because we had to end Sirenicide in the middle of it, its popularity, and we just wanted to make sure that we saw it a few times before we just started spouting out our opinions on it. What would you say your impressions were of the movie the first time you saw it?
The very first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. We seen it as a whole family, so we had our 2 kids there, and it was really awesome seeing it like through their eyes too.
Yeah.
I did think it the first time through, I was kind of thought there was some kiddie-ish issues with it, but it's made for the whole family, so I can kind of overlook that. But I walked out of there like, this is a good movie.
Totally.
For the whole family.
I loved it. I mean, I can't believe like he was able to wrap the trilogy up the way it was. I mean, the only bad thing about this being such a late review is we've already seen a lot of the internet's disdain for it. But it seems like the overall consensus of physical people we talk to in real life is very positive. What we're going to do is we're going to go through our top 3, and I'm going to have the numbers on the screen. I'm going to put those there like this. Like this is the number 7, since I've seen the movie 7 times. And but we're going to go through our top 3 moments, each of us, that we like of the film. We're not going to be recapping the film, so if you're watching this like, oh, they're going to retell the whole movie. No, we're not. If you have not seen this movie, spoilers. Stop watching this because we're going to heavily spoil the movie. But, you know, spoiler-free impressions, it's good. Go see it. Don't believe the internet hype. It's an amazing movie. We're going to go through our top 3, and then we're going to do some honorable mentions, and then we're going to do some questions that the movie opened up for us, and we're going to do overrated and underrated, as well as dislikes. We do have a couple of qualms with the film. Not as many as a lot of people on the internet,
too many, though.
but enough to bring up for discussion points in the comments below. At the very end, we are going to rank the 11 Star Wars theatrical movies, and we invite you to do the same thing. Kind of curious if you're watching this, how would you rank your movies? But wait till the end of the video before you rank them. That way, you might change your mind.
Ooh.
All right, that being said, let's go over to our top 3.
My number 3, which is really hard to do because I think they're all like really close up there, is, I have to go with that. It's when Han Solo appears in the movie. That is like it's so touching. And I think it does a really great callback to a conversation that Leia and Han have in The Force Awakens, and then just Kylo like quivering his lip because he knows like that's the worst thing he's ever done in his life, and that's there to help him make this massive change.
Did you expect him to be there when you first saw it?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Me neither. They did a really good job of hiding Harrison Ford returning to do that. Especially as much as Harrison Ford's always in the media like, I'm done. I died. I'm done.
It's over.
It's over. So imagine that phone call was like, listen, we needed Carrie for this shot. We don't have a Carrie Fisher. Will you please come back? And we needed his parent to be able to like redeem him in this moment.
I know, but I think it was a really good job because, like I said, the callback to The Force Awakens where he says, when Leia tells him, bring our son home, and he goes, well, if Luke, who's a Jedi, couldn't do it, what makes you think I can? And she's like, you're his father.
No, I mean, I'm talking about, like, Lucasfilm contacting Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Like, we need you just for, like, a day of shooting.
I bet you he jumped up and did it for Carrie.
Yeah. Or a lot of money. Or Carrie and a lot of money.
Both.
Okay, so my number 3 is fucking Babu Frick. This video is not for children.
He's amazing.
He is awesome, man. And just like Han Solo, it was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
I've never, like, I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but, like, the aliens, I mean, I've always enjoyed it, but it's never been, like, the heart of it. It's always been for me I'm actually one of the ones that like more of the pilots and the space battles and some of that stuff more than, like, here's this quirky creature. And I know, like, there's a ton of Star Wars fans of the opposite. They care less for the battles but they like, ooh, who's that alien playing in Jabba's palace?
Yeah.
And you could tell that Babu Frick was like taking something like the child from Mandalorian or Porgs, things like that to another level.
I can see
Because
that.
most people get attached to like BB-8 and R2, the droids and things like that, but they took this little creature that you meet in just this little nick of time, this little piece of the story. I mean, and that's it. And part of my number 3 is Babu Frick would not be as cool without C-3PO.
No, not at all.
Because C-3PO nailed it in this movie, and we'll talk about that a little more later. But, I mean, it's so unexpected that this little guy, like, C-3PO divulges, like, this dark, his eyes are red, only this blade tells, and then they just hard, like, metal clank, only this blade tells, and then he just deactivates, and this little guy's like, yeah! I did it! He's like, hey, we got it! He's so happy, and it's just like a dark message. I just love it. And then when he reactivates him, the whole, I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations. Hello, I Babu Frick.
Yeah.
Because nobody else.
He waits until attention's over in the room, and then he introduces himself.
And then you know how good it is C-3PO because one of my favorite Babu Frick related moments doesn't even have Babu Frick. It's when they're on the moon, one of the water moon on Endor, and she's like one of the writer ladies like Babu
Jana?
Frick. Yeah, Janice says they sent us a message. Or we received a message from Babu Frick, and he's just like, "Oh, Babu Frick, that's one of my oldest friends."
Yeah.
It's such good Star Wars humor. It's not like Marvel quip kind of stuff, like where it's like a slap back at somebody to get like a little dagger in, but it's just like quirky, kiddie Star Wars humor that's done very well, like a very homage to I think all the trilogies have had that.
Have something like that, yeah.
But that's my number 3. Okay, and your number dos.
My number 2 is the fight between Kylo and Rey when they are on, what's the planet called again? Kijimi. Okay, where she's in his quarters and they do the whole like force combining, and then you see like the red beings go into like his quarters, and it's really emotional about him telling her like, I know who you are now, and I just think it's really beautifully done, like the switchback from them two not being able to see each other's surroundings but having pieces of those surroundings.
Yeah, and earlier in the
Like
film
into
he's in his quarters.
Yeah.
And then she's on the Pasana planet. So now we've put him on Kijimi and she's in his room.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
But I just really like the connection between them two. I mean, they're angry and they're fighting, but at the same time, you can feel that there is more of a connection than just good and evil fighting.
That's a good one. And it really builds upon, like, I know a lot of people bash The Last Jedi, but without The Last Jedi, you don't have that connection. Like, that movie set that up.
Yeah.
And it really builds upon that so well in this movie.
Yeah, where she's like, not now. Like, she's so aggravated with him.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so my number 2 is a theme in the movie. I think the movie sets up no matter where you come from or who you're descendant from, you have the ability to change. So we learn that she's a Palpatine in this. And I know a lot of people really wanted her to be nobody. A lot of people wanted her to be a Kenobi. A lot of people wanted her to be a Skywalker. And I think this movie takes all those, like, shipping these ideas and just puts them out. It's like, no, we're going to make her a Palpatine because we need that for other story points, like her hand twitching and her fighting this inner conflict within herself and that kind of stuff, and shooting the Force lightning out, the transport, like all those things you need that from Palpatine. The other thing is a lot of people, I think they're upset that she ended up being who they were hoping she would be, but they don't realize like Kylo is the other half of this story,
Mm-hmm.
and her being a Palpatine changes everything when he's on Exegol. When he's like, well, who is she? Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I mean, if he would have been like, well, turns out she's a Kenobi, and he'd be like, really? Like, he's not gonna be like, I have to see it for myself. I mean, later in the movie, he's like, I pushed you in the desert because I wanted to see what you could do. Because if you're really his granddaughter, you should be able to electrocute something or take it away from me. And she does.
Yeah.
So I think that really, in that moment, he realizes that Sheev is not lying to him, that, that is his granddaughter. And so I thought that was really cool. And I think it works for Ben too, playing back to your Han Solo thing. I mean, his redemption arc sets in the fact that what Luke had said in The Last Jedi, because I was Luke Skywalker, the legend, like you're that guy's student, so you should automatically be awesome. And
Yeah.
because he already, I mean, it's like being trained by somebody in the most amazing music form or something like that, but that person's only into blues, and then someone shows you like a metal song that's not even that good maybe, but it's so new than what you've been drilled and told to stay away from, and then when you get a taste of it, you're like, oh, I want to go do that. And that's what Snoke was able to offer Kylo. But it doesn't matter where you came from or who you are, what your last name is. I think that also goes into the ending, when she chooses to pick Skywalker as her name at the end. Isn't just the Luke and Leia's little thing, like nodding, like, go ahead, we're okay with it, as much as it's, I think, a part of Ben's life force is in her now, because they were a dyad. Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
So that means all of that power, I think, has transferred a lot into her. So she's got that Skywalker soul, like, within her now, too. And she was trained by both of them. And, I mean, what are you going to do? Turn to the lady and say, I'm Rey Palpatine. Wait, where are you going?
I think it was just her way of honoring them.
Yeah.
Like her trainers that came before her, the people that showed her who she was, who showed her who family is.
Right.
That kind of thing. But along with like your same theme, I feel like Finn fits in that too. I mean, he was just some janitor stormtrooper guy who's now a general of the Resistance.
Right. And Poe. He was a spice runner. Like, everything sets up to, like, it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. This movie, and I shouldn't say just this movie, this new trilogy is really big on that. Like, I'm nobody, I'm no one. And then he's later, your parents were nothing. They were junkers. They were buried in a Jakku desert, which turns out to be true.
Yeah. So he didn't lie to her.
Yeah. So that was my number 2.
Was your number 2?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of yours goes like right into my number 1.
All right. Number 1.
And mine is as simple as Ben's smile at the very end. That one makes me very happy. And I think it's because throughout the whole trilogy, we never see him smile. And I can only imagine, like, could you imagine being Ben Solo? Your mother is this general and has fought and is courageous, and then we learn to find out that she is trained in the ways of Jedi and she's got these powers too. And then your uncle is the most legendary Jedi and brought peace to the world or the universe, the galaxy. There you go. And then your dad is like the most known smuggler there is out there. He's
a rebellion hero.
And he's broken all of these like records for being the best pilot, and like being a kid and trying to live up to all of that, like any short failings that you would do. I mean, I just think like no wonder it was so easy for him to go to the dark side, because how do you live up to that as a kid?
Right. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of the expanded lore, is the way he finds out that Vader's his grandfather. It's not something he's told right off the bat. And he finds that out when the galaxy finds it out. Because not everybody knew that Luke and Leia were Vader's kids. That wasn't like common
Oh,
knowledge.
yeah, that would make sense.
So that comes out pretty like he's a little guy. I mean, he's not like a toddler, but he's, he's a kid when all that goes down.
Yeah, can you imagine like being
So
like,
it's like,
that's why I have feel this darkness
exactly. Why would
inside
y'all not
me.
tell me this stuff? So that's a good number one.
Yeah, so then when he finally does get, I feel like that piece where he finally is like, man, maybe I am good. Maybe I did do something good. And he just smiles. I don't think it's, not that he doesn't love Rey or that, but I think it's really that finding that he is like, wow, maybe I am from these people. Maybe I am a good person or can be a good person.
He was a good person in the end.
Yeah, and so we get a smile from him.
All right, so my number one part of this movie is a scene or a piece of the movie, and it is from the moment that Rey's little skiff boat thing that she got from Janna's crew goes right into the Death Star 2 wreckage, all the way to the moment she flies off from the TIE fighter. I do like Han when he comes, but this is just that. I mean, it's there. It's on all the materials for a reason. Like, I know that in The Last Jedi, them fighting the Red Praetorian Guards was in a lot of the stuff, and that's my favorite scene in that movie. So I feel like they have an eye for the moments that are going to really grip your heart.
Yeah.
So I like when she's first creeping through and you see all the Stormtrooper helmets that are just corroded and water's
really
in them,
cool.
and the mangled TIE fighter. I just love that, like, freaking forgotten temple element to this. I love Dark Rey. I think Dark Rey was perfect in it. It was not enough of it to give too many dialogue lines where you can really analyze it. It's like a phantom and it's kind of there and gone, just like the Dark Side cave was for Luke.
Yeah, that was very reminiscent of that.
So I love that element that she gets that door, that obviously there's no way it should work, but the dark side of the Force opens that up for her, or maybe it's Palpatine. Who knows? Who cares? But and she goes in there and she gets what she needs, but that spirit's enough to like shock her back into reality, and there's Kylo waiting. And I love when they start fighting, how he's just like, Aloop, and he just like drops down and she just kind of goes like right after him. It's so reminiscent of this whole scene is reminiscent of Revenge of the Sith. Like Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight at the end of it. Their trade back, them going up a big scaffolding or piece of metal and fighting, and their dialogue exchanges and their grunts. There's a lot of Revenge of the Sith when we replace the lava with water.
Yeah.
So I like that element of it. I like the fact that you get to see Ben trying to, reason with her to get him on his side, and then she's just fully, give it to me. Give it to me. Like, she's just gone. She's just going darker and darker and darker because she already knows that she's got this vision of being on a throne with this guy. She's trying to push that out of her head, but at the same time, him and their presence together, since they're this dyad, their energies are naturally already like drawn to each other on top of a normal physical, chemical connection of, so all these things working towards her, and it's such an epic lightsaber battle. And then towards the end, like whenever he's got that strike, he can end her right there.
Right then, yeah.
And that's when Leia intervenes, and it's so perfect. And he looks away to this essence of his mother and the feeling
Drops
of it.
his lightsaber.
And she doesn't get any of that in that moment. That's what's crazy. So she's just reaching out enough to her son. She's not trying to talk to Rey in that moment. So Rey doesn't sense it. It's like he's dropped his saber, moment of weakness. Her just jabs it right in him. And that like relinquishes what little threads I guess Leia's holding on to in our physical world to the netherworld of the Force. And she feels that she just severed that tie, that tendril, and I love it. It's so good. It's so well written. For a script that's got a lot of missteps to me in the movie, that is not one of them.
No,
I love that whole piece of the movie. Like, I mean, there's been a few times that I've shown up like late for the showings on these 7 viewings, and I'm always like, oh man, I hope I don't miss that. Like the build up to that. Because I just love that scene. I mean, that really is an amazing scene in that movie.
Yeah, it is. I really like how when she heals him, his scar that was put there in the Force Awakens disappears as well too. I thought that was it Last Jedi?
No, it's Force Awakens. Oh, he's got the bandage from
the
Last Jedi. So yeah, all that goes away. I mean, and we don't get to see it where it goes into his shirt and all that like we do in Last Jedi. So I wonder that's epic how like it just cleared him up. I saw this image of like someone had drawn online and he's in a white shirt, like one of Han's kind of white shirts,
Yeah.
and he's got like the navy blue pants, but it's got a gray stripe on it, and his belt's not brown; it's kind of like an off black with a silver buckle, and he's holding like a blue lightsaber. Or a green lightsaber maybe, but it's like this is what Ben Solo of a Jedi looks like, and I was like, oh,
Aww.
that's so cool, like out of the robes and all that, but he would just be
Yeah.
like, I thought that was kind of cool. Now we are at honorable mentions and questions. So, first thing, didn't make it to my top 3, but I really liked was the Galactic or Star Wars Dunkirk. Basically, at the end, all hope is lost. They need like the help, and the help that shows up isn't a whole bunch of armies or anything. It's like all these little ships from all parts of the galaxy are banding together to help like them out, help them get out of this situation. Which, I mean, I understand like Dunkirk in real life was to help a bunch of soldiers get off of France across the English
Yeah.
Channel, but it was the fact that all these little like nothing boats showed up to like against a massive military force. And similar in this, you got these Star Destroyers everywhere, all these new Sith troopers and all of that. And even though that line is like, they don't have a navy. It's not a navy, sir. It's just people.
I keep thinking about like how hard that like Poe and all them had to go to get there, like what they're talking about, like to get to
Exegol, and then now all those massive ships
yeah,
had to
and they
follow the
all
same
had to
route.
follow that same path. Like that's crazy
Yeah, I mean,
to me.
out of all those ships that showed up, imagine how the ones that didn't make it through.
I know, because not all those people could have been a good enough pilot to make it through that.
And so, more expanded universe stuff, you see the Ghost from Rebels. You see the Colossus from Star Wars Resistance, and there's just like tons of like little call outs to previous ships and that kind of thing, which is really nice because during the earlier parts, we see the Tanta V4 finally go down. I'm guessing that's the Tanta V4. It looks like
it looks a lot like it.
But that one actually does not survive the Palpatine lightning because you see the whole cabin light up with fire and everything. So that was sad. So seeing all these guys come in, but that was my first honorable mention, definitely. If we would have done a top 5, it would have been in there.
That's a really good one where they just poor Poe's like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. As like people are dying around.
A few people were like, well, how come all these people showed up, but they didn't show up for Crate? We gotta realize at the end of the Battle of Crate, Luke Skywalker walks out and does something that all of these First Order troopers are witnessing. All of these Resistance people are witnessing. So in the year or whatever it is after that is like spread throughout the galaxy. We already saw it with the little kids at the end of Last Jedi when they're like Luke Skywalker, so that legend is helped build him up. So now when Lando is reaching out saying, hey, we got this way to destroy the Emperor, everybody knows that the voice of the Emperor is being heard across the galaxy again. And this message is being so it's like, all right, we're going to go with them. And I think that made it easier than just Leia and her crew crawling from Crate like, hey, we need help. The First Order is about to destroy us. And like, well, First Order is kind of occupying our planet right now.
Yeah,
so
they're kind of destroying everyone. You're not special.
Exactly. But, I think that that scene just showing all that uniting is epic.
Yeah, that probably goes along with like Janna and all like the stormtroopers and stuff that probably more and more are like jumping ship.
Right. Next honorable mention
is going to be Rey's parents. Just now that we find out a little bit about them, it opens up so many more questions.
Like, who did the Emperor screw?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one.
And a lot of people are like, I don't get like who would sleep with the Emperor. Yeah. The most powerful man in the galaxy.
Yes. You're
trying to tell me, even in our world, the amount of gold diggers and stuff out there, that somebody and like freaking Masamita or these guys didn't bring girls to his chamber, or he didn't have a bunch of concubines throughout the galaxy. I mean, he was still a human, people.
Yeah.
Very powerful human at that, so, who needs Viagra when you have the dark side?
It should be like a slogan.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed though, in um, it not being Kira from Solo. I was hoping that was gonna be Rey's mom.
I know that would have been really cool though, like
Yeah.
tie that into it. But then they would have been um, half siblings,
Yeah.
maybe, or possibly if it
Yeah.
would have been
So
Han's.
originally, after watching Solo so many times, thought, "Ooh, what if?" And again, this goes into the expanded universe stuff. If you read Resistance, I'm sorry, Bloodlines, it talks about Leia and Han's split up. And I thought, okay, well, Han goes back to racing and smuggling, the only thing he's good at.
Mm-hmm.
What if one racetrack night he bumps into his old fling from back on Corellia, and
Yeah.
Ben's already born, so Ben's a little older than Rey, and then, yeah, a few years later, bouncing baby Rey comes out, and Han doesn't ever even know.
Yeah,
Because Kira just has this kid,
we're like Kira has to hide her,
and she, snatched up with
from
some
the
other
dark
a
side.
boyfriend, and then they go to Jakku to in the Falcon, and that's why the Falcon was there. It wasn't really all these Irving boys and all the stuff that's just stuff that Rey had been told
Yeah.
of why the Falcon was there, and it was really Kira like ditching the Falcon and the kid. They were running for somebody, and yeah, that was the whole thing. Was just like Ankar Plutt was told, you better keep an eye on this kid. We're coming back. And if you harm a hair on her head, I will, freaking force choke you because Darth Maul has trained me well.
Yeah.
Even though he's long gone now. I just saw it as like a washed up wannabe Sith Lord.
Yeah.
And that would explain like Rey's powers kind of thing. I just thought that'd be kind of cool.
It would have been cool.
Because she's just such a loose end character from that movie. But that being said, now I want to know, who are the Palpatine disappointments, like your parents,
Yeah.
It's just so disappointed. These nothing, not force sensitive little brats or brat, the boy I had, and then married this nobody girl, but now you're here.
Yeah, so could there be more Palpatines out there?
Exactly. Ooh. But yeah, that's honorable mention / questions now. Like,
Yeah.
who is Rey's grandmother?
Yeah.
It's gone from the internet wanting to know since 2015 who's Rey's parents and who's Rey's mother to who's her grandmother now.
Yeah.
Will it ever end? All right, so this next one is kind of a theory.
Okay.
Not really an honorable mention because it's not in the movie. It's just after watching it a few times, I'm thinking, when we see in The Last Jedi, when Luke's, over Ben, from both stories, from Ben's point of view or Kylo's point of view and from Luke's point of view, we both hear that Luke for a moment ignited the saber.
Yes.
Whether he was enraged with the eyes up like Kylo remembers it, or if he's just like, I need to stop this. Oh, wait, no, I can't. Regardless, he ignited the saber because he sensed some darkness in him. Now that we know Palpatine was pulling the strings behind Snoke, and Snoke was just a puppet, and that he's been in Kylo's head the whole time, when Luke reached out to sense this and felt the darkness, he had never, like, oh my God, what is all this? Did he sense, like, corpse Palpatine and what he was doing, but didn't notice it was Palpatine? He just felt the energy. So I think, like, because why would he take that step to attack his nephew unless it's just like, oh my God, haven't felt something like this in a long time. It feels like Palpatine, like, but it can't be Palpatine because I watched Dad kill him.
What if it's Palpatine through Rey with their connection?
It's true too.
Like, it's still that darkness there, and still, like, that's all Luke can sense is the dark part of
Because,
it.
well, you got a point there, because even when Palpatine first zaps them at the end of this movie, he's like, a dyad in the Force. Like, even as grand and smart as he is, he's like, oh, good, I don't have to pass in y'all's body now. I can just take y'all's wonderful energies, merge them together, and suck them in to rebuild me.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that was it on that one.
Could be that. We also have, where going through this, it is C-3PO's best movie.
He went from the annoying droid,
yes,
like one of my least favorite Star Wars characters, to like, he was so
funny in this one.
Like we said
really
earlier,
good timing.
Yeah, I mean, Babu Frick would be nothing without this character in this, because don't worry, I'm okay. Like all of it's. It was just, when he turns and looks, what are they all looking at? I just gave him a really great fact.
Yeah.
It's just so, He's so good in this. I mean, it's just not oh, he excels in that, sir. Like, he doesn't have that swagger in this. Like, with his
Uh-uh.
age, he's just, or his programming and his age, he's just so much more like, oh, I'm right here too. Don't worry about me. You know.
Maybe it's because he didn't have R2D2 with him stealing the thunder.
Maybe. They were split up in this one.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, R2 was with Luke on Dagobah, and that's probably some of C3PO's most annoying moments is in Empire. Never mind, I retract this statement. I'm just thinking of C3PO. Oh, put me down, you overwhooped glop of grease, or whatever he calls just when he's holding, when he's the bag of parts on the
Yeah.
back of, all of that's just, I know it's nostalgia for a lot of people watching this, but for me, it's just eye roll moments of this day. I just do not like.
No, he's definitely the most annoying droid.
Yeah, you know,
Up
he's not.
until this
He's not bad in the
movie.
prequels. He's just in the original trilogy. He is just nerve wracking. But man, Anthony Daniels, the guy that plays him, just kills it. Like
Mhm.
across all these movies, he does the voice of him in all the cartoons.
That's awesome.
So it's just so cool that like he's been a part of his character for so
Yeah.
long. So, but anyway, the Rise of Skywalker gave us the best C-3PO,
Yep.
bar none.
Mhm.
The last thing that would have been on my top 10 list, if we would have done top 10s or anything like that, it would have to be Rey when she heals the serpent. BB-8 kind of like inquires and she's like, oh, I just transferred a little bit of life into it. You would have done the same thing.
Mhm.
And then later on, he freaking plugs into Dio, gives him a shot of juice and charges his battery. And then that guy ends up having what they need to get the Exegol. So she doesn't, I mean, it's just a great and just a small movie, not a long trilogy, a little short thing of events plugs up because everyone's like, this movie's written so bad or it's so rushed. And there are a lot of rushed elements to this movie and a lot of plot holes with the rest of just this trilogy. Not all the movies, but just as within this trilogy. And I agree
Mhm.
with some of that criticism. But it's little moments like that that I go, I don't know, man, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, do unto others like did a wonderful thing in this
Yeah.
retrospect. So that was one of my favorite moments. And each time I watch the movie, I think that is so cool because BB-8's like, oh, I'm gonna do what Ray just did for this little guy, you know.
Yeah.
So like my little hero, because it goes back to him just following her in the desert in the first one, like beep beep beep, you
Yeah.
know, like, I mean, ooh, and then like when he gets a tree on top of him in the beginning of this movie, help,
Yeah.
help, he's just like help. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the honorable mentions. I
Yep.
guess now we'll move on to a special thing that I wanted to bring up. All right, so special bonus content, Han
Ooh.
Soloisms in this movie that are come out of Kylo.
Yeah.
All in the same movie. Kylo does the point, I think, twice,
He does.
like just like Han Solo did in the original trilogy all the time. And I love that he does that. He does the not looking shot,
Yeah.
just like Han Solo did in The Force Awakens. Uh, so that was really cool. Um, and then there is the smile. Oh well, yeah. That's the big one. So when he pulls the blade out, the lightsaber, and he looks at the Knights of Ren, it's the same way. Like whenever Han looks at all of the Empire guys at the end of Return of a Jedi when they come out of the bunker, like, sorry, that's just me, you know. Um, and then the smile is so reminiscent of when Leia was that
Yeah.
close when they were younger. So there's like just a whole lot of Han Solo isms within Kylo's.
Mhm.
So, and that's not by accident, you know. When they were sitting down,
No.
they're like, we got to find a way to tie him to his father in this movie, just in his quirks and stuff. So, I love that.
That he was trying to fight so hard when he was trying to be Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just turned out he could have just been Kylo Solo.
Yeah.
And that would have rhymed. It's like, I want my new cool name to be Kylo, because Kylo rhymes with Solo. I don't want to lose the O in my name. I don't know. It's just, I've always thought of like, well, that's not a big stretch, especially once you find out in the expanded material, like the Knights of Ren were something before him. He didn't form them. He joined them and
Ah.
rose to the top of them.
Oh, okay.
But they were already a thing. So, and there's actually there's a comic right now that's out that hasn't finished yet, but it talks about Ren, like the Ren that led them, and apparently he's not in there no more. So we don't know what happens. I'm assuming Kylo's gonna kill him and take over, but we'll see. But I thought that was kind of cool. Alright, so this next segment is going to be called Overrated and Underrated.
Ooh.
Alright, so overrated, the Sith Troopers. They're like in all the posters.
Yes.
They're cool looking. They're awesome. They're just more cannon fodder. Like, if you remember in Rogue One, when the Death Trooper shoots, it doesn't miss. Like, it is just boom, boom, boom. Like, and I mean, they're intimidating. So these are Sith Troopers. So I thought, man, they're either going to be like trained by Force sensitives or they're going to be inherently evil. They're just red stormtroopers.
Yeah, I thought
They are
would be
freaking red stormtroopers.
closer to Inquisitors.
Yeah, or something. I mean, they're just like, I just got through playing Jedi Fallen Order, and there's like the Inquisitors have their own special black stormtroopers that are with them that have like force pikes and stuff like that, and they're so freaking cool. But these Sith troopers are just here and then they were gone.
I mean, they had some like cool scenes, like walking around like the corners of things.
Yeah, but not as cool as the Knights of. I mean, even the Knights of Ren had cooler shots than they did in this. Knights of Ren are like one of the biggest letdowns of this trilogy. Or that Phasma was the Boba Fett. That being said, underrated. The fact that is Mustafar in the opening montage of this movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that at first.
So that, I didn't really get it either because I haven't played apparently a VR game that lets you know why there's trees on what was a lava planet that had a Vader castle at one time. So, and I still haven't played it, so I don't really get all of that. But I saw in the visual dictionary that it's like, this is Mustafar. It's like, what? And then where he pulls the Wayfinder out was what the base of where Vader's castle was. Like Vader had Sith artifacts in the bottom of his castle. And that all those are like loyalists that are supposed to like guard that area until they die. And so he's just over there doing the rock bottom and freaking just killing all those dudes. It's such an epic scene, but then when you find out it's the planet from, the end of the best Star Wars movie, that it's just that much cooler. So that's underrated to me. In fact, that's Mustafar. They didn't give it the cutesy little labels like Rogue One did. Every time they went to a new planet, it's like, this planet name. That would have been a dead giveaway, so that was cool. Alright, so now the downer part of the video. Hey man, some of these things are just, you can't deny. I mean, Hux.
Yeah.
General Hux, I'm the spy. Okay. Well, I mean, for the little kids going, yeah, oh my god, he's the spy, cool. I get the Spy Kids element or whatever they were going for with that. Man, he's like Ginger Hitler in the first one we see him in. He's got the red glowing eyes, like, look at what I helped command and build, and just down to this. I mean, I love his quip at the very beginning. No, the mask, well done. Yeah. And I thought that set up like, okay, Hux is gonna be like returning to form in this, like, and he's not, man. It's just like, so many good opportunities for him. I feel like this new general guy was not needed.
Pride,
yeah, like I think it'd be so cool, like if we left where Hux got thrown back at the end of Last Jedi and we're just kind of looking at him like crossed, and then they found a way not to really get along, but to make the First Order like work, even though they don't really like each other. Like kind of like a reverse Vader Tarkin dynamic. Like, not him questioning Kylo as much as, yes, we could do that, but that might end up like Crate. Fine, then dispatch your men to, like, that would have been so much more. I mean, he doesn't need to be a reluctant good guy just because he wants to be like high school about things. That did not land for me. That was my biggest dislike of the.
I'm like, how did he get demoted so like much. Like, how
Right.
did this the other commander
Well,
guy get in
they
more
try to
power?
well they try to shoehorn that in, like, we don't want it to be like Starkiller Base was. They have that line in there just to, I guess, to kind of explain that.
Oh,
But I mean, did Hux like say, "Oh, we need an oscillator up here," and like we're gonna have a stormtrooper that's gonna defect and go do all? I mean, Hux had no control over what happened to Starkiller,
yeah.
so I'm out. I'm out on that whole thing. My other dislike would be the MacGuffin hunting. So we gotta get a
Yeah.
wayfinder that leads to a dagger, and we need this ship to.
And that's what I was talking about when I said, like, my first impression, like, it was kind of on, like, the little kiddie-ish side, or a little, like, and it's that right there.
Somebody, I was reading an article and they were saying like everything in it seems like first draft names, like, what's this device? It helps them find a way. It's a wayfinder. Instead of like, like something you'd write in the first draft of a script, but then they never
Yeah.
went back and renamed it. Like they could have straight up used holocron and it would have made perfect sense.
But is it a holocron? I mean, it's supposed to be just
Yeah.
maps, right?
Right. I don't know. It's just
I mean, a holocron has more knowledge in it than that.
it's just so weird, like naming a device what it does like
Or,
that.
like, my other thing is how far or how much has this knowledge stopped if there hasn't been that many Jedis or Sith and stuff to keep it going? So,
But in
did
that
things
book
get
that Ray's reading,
translated?
that's got the picture, does it say in the runic language Wayfinder?
But
'Cause
maybe that's what they're calling it because
Yeah.
they can't read that. Because
Yeah.
she said she couldn't read a lot of it, so maybe it got lost in translation. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, we just here in, like, the United States and stuff, like, people call it Coke or they call it soda, but it's all the same thing.
That's true. What's another thing? Oh, you were saying about like
It's
the
kind of video.
like fetch quest, is that what they call it? Like, you need to make sure that you and your team go find this thing.
Which I think is
and
like the
then take it.
MacGuffin thing kind of too. Or like,
Laying out the stormtroopers.
yes, that kind of thing. Like,
Like someone entered a cheat when they got on that Star
yeah,
Destroyer.
easy level.
Yeah, they're just knocking the stormtroopers out like they're nothing.
I mean, I feel like at least in, like, some of the older movies, they hid more. It seemed like more of a threat than with Finn and Poe going in there, and they're just like awesome about it until they get completely surrounded.
But it's okay because I'm the spy. Like that scene's in there too. It does
Yeah.
not help. Maz Kanata. So I loved Maz Kanata in the first movie, even though she's got buttholes for eyes. When she takes her things off the first movie, it's like, whoa, what is going on there?
I'm so sorry.
It's like an eyeball in the middle of a butthole. It's not a good design. I've seen things. Well, I bet. Anyway, I still love her in that movie. Like, who's the girl? That lightsaber calls to you. She's had exposition lines. And then she's in a battle in The Last Jedi. Like, find the code breaker. I gotta go. Here's my jetpack. It's
Yeah.
like, man, what is she going to be like in the last movie? She's going to be the old lady that stands around that would be like outside the nail salon or whatever, that says all the exposition because Carrie Fisher passed away and she can't give some of these lines. So it's like, Leia's going to do what she must need to do. I don't even know what the line is because it's so lame. It's like, why didn't they just show Maz Kanata watching her and Leia walking away, or the shadow of Leia walking and then Leia laying down? Same scene, just no dialogue. No dialogue wasn't needed. It's just, and then her weird ass smile at the end when Leia goes down. It's like, is she getting high off of the Force? And that moment, like, oh, I can feel her leaving into the Force. That feels good because I'm Force sensitive. I've told everybody that. And then the fucking medal. I'm out. That is just straight up. The story group was not involved in parts of this movie. Like, the people that know that Chewie got a medal, it just wasn't at that award ceremony. Like, but he has a medal for that battle. So it's like, okay, well, she's not giving it to him for it to be, here's a medal, you never finally got yours. Well, unfortunately, half of casual fandom's not going to know this. So they're going to think, oh, he finally got the medal he didn't have at the end of A New Hope.
Yeah.
But the other
really
people are going to
pick
think,
up on
oh,
that.
well, he's, just getting that because it was Han's medal and now Leia's gone, so this is being passed to you. So if she needed to say something in that moment that needed a little bit more explaining or exposition, it would have been like, this was, this was Han's, then it was Leia's, now this should just be yours. It's like, I'm not giving you a medal because you didn't get one. I'm giving you this because it belonged to the man that you, like, loved.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It didn't even need to be. It was just so stupid. Like, I'm out. Maz Kanata and her medal, stick in her butthole eyes and get out of the movie.
Wow.
I guess the Hux thing's not as bad as that.
No.
And then the last thing on my dislikes list is Rose. Wasn't a big fan of Rose. It wasn't like I wouldn't want her off Twitter. Like, it wasn't her fault the way that Canto Bite scene went down in Last Jedi, which I still don't like. But I figure if anything, she's tactical and knows all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She should have been a part of the group.
I do too. Like, I feel like in a lot of the parts that she should have been, like, when we first see Finn and Poe and all that in the movie, like, I feel like Rose should have been on there too. I mean, she's a mechanic and she knows how to do all that. Like, why isn't she part of that group?
Why? No offense. I like the character, Jaina or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But almost every line of dialogue she gives, riding horses, all these kind of things have been so much cooler with the 5-year thing that they did in Last Jedi. Like, there's so much that Rose could have been written a little bit differently. They could have come across these creatures maybe on the water moon of Endor along with a Jaina character.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no reason
She should have been
she
with
should have
them.
been with them. Yeah. It was just wasted. It's like, oh, the internet doesn't like you anymore, so we're going to write you to where you're in the movie so we don't get in trouble for just kicking you out, but enough to where you got screen time. And I understand that she's part of that line that's delivered, like, where Snap Wexley's like, I'm being positive. Everything's great, and of course Rose's eye roll helps sell that scene around Leia. I get that, but that still could have been done by the guy from Lost and Lord of the Rings. Like, that scene still could have been accomplished without Rose.
I think so too.
So Rose was wasted. Hux was wasted. Maz Kanata was ruined, from what she was in the other 2 movies. And video game MacGuffin quetch festing. That being said, that is like a little portion of, like, so many badass things in this movie. It's beautiful.
Know.
The music sounds so good. John Williams' cameo, freaking Kerry Russell killing it as Zori.
And I, like, it's at the very beginning, but one of my absolute, like, favorite parts, and I think if we could have, it probably should have been in, like, my honorable mentions, but it's like when we see Finn and he gets into, like, to the cannons to fire the guns and stuff, just how freaking confident he is, just like, ooh, I got this.
Right.
And his whole arc of wanting to tell Rey something but he doesn't, and he's just so confident in this movie, and I absolutely love it. Like, he is like the glue in, like, the little friendship. Like, without him, there wouldn't be this group. Like, he's literally...
He keeps it together.
Yes,
and
I love
because she's like, I'm going alone. Yeah, alone with friends. And he's just pushing the issue.
Yeah, and, like, he's always, like, the mediator between Poe and Rey.
Right. All right, so as promised, we want to see you rank the 11 theatrical releases to this date of Star Wars in the comments below. That'd be really cool for us to open up a dialogue conversation in there about it. And to get things kicked off, we're going to do ours. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
I don't think that people are going to be too happy with my pick. Stop laughing because you know what they are. So I'm going to start off with saying I did not get into Star Wars until I was, 14, 15 years old?
Yeah.
So without the prequels, I would have never cared about the originals. So I feel like I need to throw that out there before I go into my...
Internet, you're going to love this.
Okay.
Number 1, Empire Strikes Back.
No. Number 1 is Attack of the Clones. Don't.
How? Why?
Because I really like Padme and Anakin and...
I like sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. let's go ride the fat deer through the grass.
Fat deer. He's like more like an anteater.
It's like Bambi and an anteater combined that's got helium blown up into
Yeah.
it. I fell off and I got hurt. Haha, just kidding. I want to roll around in the grass. You're 14, right? 14, 15 when you got into them.
Makes sense, right? Followed by Revenge of the Sith, because it continues on with their epic story.
Epic ending.
Rise of Skywalker.
But the internet says that movie sucks.
Well, apparently I don't like what
But the internet
likes.
says the Attack of the Clones really sucks.
Oh well. The Force Awakens.
That's a good one.
Then Solo.
The box office smash hit.
Yep. I enjoyed it. I think you don't have to know anything about Star Wars to enjoy that movie.
Space heist.
The Last Jedi. The Phantom Menace.
So we haven't gotten one original movie yet.
No. Rogue One.
That's all about the original movies.
Yeah, but I still feel like that one's like...
It is. It's self-contained.
It's self-contained, and it's so different. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. Like your list.
Hey, now.
I'm messing with you.
I did not want to do this, by the way, because I was like, I know no one's going to agree with me. After Rogue One, we have A New Hope.
A New Hope before Empire.
Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I might as well just put those in order because...
In release order?
Yeah, because why not?
What are you on Twitter? At Amy Bolin on Twitter?
No.
Oh.
I never check my Twitter, so y'all totally can blow me up there. It's Molly Needles.
Oh, at Molly Needles. Hashtag heresy.
Heresy?
Get ready.
What is yours? What's your list?
All right, so I did not get into Star Wars until I was 9 years old. It was all around me growing up as a little kid. My brother was 5 years older than me, had the action figures and things like that. But by the time I got the age, they'd already been like sold in a garage sale or whatever. And he was past it because of our age difference. And so I discovered the movies. I knew the plot points already about like Luke, I am your father, but I didn't know what any of it meant. I knew what X-Wings and all that looked at. I rented them at a local little Dynamite video mom and pa shop. And it was for spring break of 94. So no, I wasn't even 9 yet. It's 8. And I watched them the whole week over and over and over. It was $2 for the whole trilogy. And I just fell in love. I mean, I knew every line of dialogue by the time I went back to school. I was telling all my friends the story, what Jedis were, what Darth Vader really was. And, I mean, it was just so, I was into it. I was still calling AT-ATs AT-ATs. Not because it's said in any of the movies, but that's just because what my uncle called it.
Yeah.
They're AT-ATs. Anyway, but yeah, I fell in love with them. And I watched Empire Strikes Back and Return of a Jedi in theaters when they released the special editions in 97 and 98. I didn't get a chance to see A New Hope. We were broke. But yeah, it was amazing to see Star Wars on the big screen. And then 2 years later, Phantom Menace came out. And then from there, it was just history. So, yeah, that's my precursor. I loved them. I got you into them.
Yeah.
I get everybody into Star Wars that I can. Like, I try to anyway.
I know. I was like, oh, those are those old movies.
Well, I read a lot of the comics. I read the Thrawn trilogy when I was in middle school. Heir to the Empire. So I was vested in a lot of legends, but I was not Maz Kanata butt eyes hurt when Disney bought it and got rid of the legends and created the new canon. I love the new canon. The new canon is 20 times better than the old canon. I know. Go ahead. At Johnny Stitches or John Stitches or whatever. Blow me up. But it is. It's just so much more cohesive. It's not as... The Emperor coming back the way he did here in this movie was 20 times better than the Legends clone bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway, because I don't think that's a clone. I think if Leia can Mary Poppins her way into the ship in Last Jedi, which I like, by the way. I'm not one of those haters of that scene. That scene wells me up each time I see it.
Know.
But I think the Emperor could survive. He fell down that reactor core. You got to realize Death Star hadn't blown up yet. It wasn't all over yet. And I think he cocooned himself against that debris, and that's why his fingers are all mangled. I think that is his corpse from that on life support that his acolytes, his followers, got in that wreckage and brought him to Exegol. I think that was his contingency plan.
Probably.
And that's why all that blue goo and all that shit's being pumped into him. I think that's his corpse, his animated corpse on life support.
He's probably been working on that plan for a while.
Yeah, like if this ever happens to my body, there's this plan. If my body gets completely destroyed, that's when we get Legends clones. Like that kind of thing. So keeping all that in mind, I'm a prequel kid. I'm not a original trilogy kid because I wasn't born in time to be one. Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars film ever made. Hands fucking down. Nothing comes close. Except for the second one, which is Attack of the Clones. It comes very close.
See, it's very close.
They are. I love Attack of the Clones. I was just messing with you earlier. But Revenge of the Sith for me, you're my brother, Anakin. Like all the things that Obi-Wan is telling Luke, and they've done this on YouTube now, like when Luke is listening to Obi-Wan tell him, your father was the best star pilot, and they got like these little bubbles now where you see Anakin flying and when he was a good friend, and it shows them grinning at each other. I did the reverse when I first saw Revenge of the Sith, and I saw them clashing. It's like, oh shit. Like I'm thinking about what Obi-Wan told Luke originally. Like it's so good. I don't care about the opera. No, at the end, that does not ruin that movie for me. It's a space opera. That is the genre. It's theatrical. It's cheesy. It's for kids. He just lost the love of his life, and he screams no through a mechanical respirator. So now the whole movie sucks. Whatever. That movie is perfection. And even the prequel haters are good at going, Revenge of the Sith's definitely the best one, way over the other two. It's the best Star Wars film, period. And I could do a whole podcast on just that movie. But Attack of the Clones, the reason why I like Attack of the Clones is one of the reasons I like Last Jedi. The movie doesn't feel like any other Star Wars film. And I love that. It feels like a Dick Tracy, I gotta get down to the bottom of this mystery. And I love that Obi-Wan's on this quest, and then he ends up opening up the Camino planet, all from a dart, and then that changeling scene. That movie is heavily, heavily underrated. It is an amazing movie. Got some of the best musical set pieces. They had to follow up Duel of Fates, and they still made that movie sound so good. Jango Fett gets his head cut off. The amazing love story between those two because of how stiff it is. You have this just
a different love story.
I'm a space monk with all these powers, and this girl's so pretty, and I don't know how to say this because I'm not even allowed to. It's supposed to be awkward and off. It's not supposed to be Romeo and fucking Juliet, and it's perfect. And them riding out and kissing each other like John Carter from Mars style.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. You need to rewatch that movie and take the nostalgia goggles of the original trilogy off and just enjoy it as its own movie, and it's so much better. And it just makes Star Wars that much better. And if you watch that movie, and then you watch all the Clone Wars cartoons, and then you watch Revenge of the Sith, holy shit, that is it's gut wrenching.
That's probably the reason why they're up there for me, because of the Clone Wars cartoons, because I love those.
So, Revenge of the Sith, Attack the Clones, and then Empire Strikes Back. And up until the prequels came out, Empire Strikes Back was my favorite. I love the snow scene. I love Luke reaching out in the snow and getting the saber and chopping the Wampa's arm off, and I love the Yoda, crazy bat nuts, old man Yoda. I mean, everything about that is the best original trilogy film. That's everybody's number one that I usually talk to is Empire's their favorite movie because it's so well shot. Lawrence Kasdan did an amazing job on it. George Lucas wasn't as grubby on it, and you can tell it got to breathe, and it's so well written. And it ends on a cliffhanger, which was unheard of at that time. So good. After Empire, my fourth favorite is Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker, for all the reasons we just listed. After that is The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens has one of the only moments in Star Wars that can like well me up with tears almost every time I see it, and that is how well the music pans in Binary Suns, or the Force theme, whatever you want to call it, whenever she pulls the saber from the snow as a
Oh,
callback to
yeah, that's
Empire
really
Strikes
good.
Back, and it flies past Kylo, and he's like, "What the heck?" You know, it catches her, and she's holding it, shaking, and doesn't know how to swing it. You need a teacher. All that whole scene is just gold.
Yeah, it is.
So good.
It's really-
Um, and then Solo. I love Solo. Solo is an amazing solo film.
Yes,
It's
yes, it
a
is.
it's a space heist, like you said. You don't have to watch anything to get it. You don't even have to know who Han Solo is to enjoy that movie.
Mm-mm.
Um, it, I love Beckett's character in it. I love the shout out to all the Clone Wars fans that know about Darth Maul,
Yeah.
and them giving us that. That whole movie is good. I love the Mother of Dragons in it.
Yes, she did
Um, I
amazing
like
in
the
it.
fact that the movie starts off in like this dodeca, like 1930s style of filming, like when this car chase, and then it becomes like a 1940s war movie, and then it becomes like this 1950s, 1960s like high class party and all that, and then it cuts. I mean, it just like goes through all these different types of film that we know from our era, but they put it all in one film.
Yeah.
It just goes into that Western style movies. It's so good. It's so Star Wars. And then after Solo would be The Last Jedi, and I'm probably gonna number these. I think when I go through this, so people are like, what number is that? The Last Jedi, and that would be higher on my list. I just can't stand that Canto Bite scene. That's my least favorite scene in Star Wars.
I know.
Like, I'd rather watch the pod race.
I like the pod race.
I'd rather watch the pod race. I'd rather watch the cannibal teddy bears than watch the Canto Bite scene. It's annoying.
Okay.
Why is like Lando Calrissian not at Canto Bite? I mean, I know he had to come to. That is his jam.
That is his
That's
jam.
his place. Why is he not like hanging out there? Like, hello everyone, I'm here gambling because I'm Lando.
Got this trick card.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so Last Jedi, and then Rogue One. I enjoy Rogue One. I just watched Rogue One the other night for the first time in like 2 years. Still a really good movie. Really good movie. And I love watching Rogue One and then watching A New Hope right after.
Yeah.
Not the whole movie, just enough to like
Just
that
enough to get
opening
the-
scene
yeah.
to get that connection, and that's why A New Hope is my one underneath Rogue One. And then the Phantom Menace, and that's just because that pod race scene is too damn long. Midi-chlorians don't bother me. The fact that he's holding up a female like razor to talk into doesn't bother me. Qui-Gon, played by freaking Liam Neeson. Duel of Fates, Darth Maul, little Anakin, and my name's Anakin and I'm a person. I love that line, like
Mm-hmm.
all of it. That movie is great. It's just the pod race scene. I enjoyed the pod race. It's just like 15 minutes too long. It's like, okay,
It is a little long.
it's getting drawn out. Jar Jar does not bother me.
Neither.
I don't love him, but I up until Rise of Skywalker, I always tell people, it was like, if you like C-3PO and you hate Jar Jar, you're it's all pointless. Like, he's annoying, I get it. I don't think that he was intended to be racist. I know there's a whole backlog of crap of why people hate Jar Jar Binks. I think at the end of the day, Jar Jar represents somebody that tells, if a kid that's really clumsy, that falls over a lot, knocks things over, breaks things, gets in trouble for it, if they watch that movie, that character is going to call out to them.
Yeah, I feel like that's what he's there for, that the kids to get.
Yeah.
And make sense of things, and that comic relief for them that they need to make it through this
Right. And
this journey.
And he tries to do everything that's good.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have he doesn't have a Darth Jar Jar bone in his body. It's the stupidest theory. But
No, I like Jar Jar.
Yeah.
He doesn't bother me at all.
And then finally, my least favorite film in the franchise is The Return of the Jedi. Hate me. I don't care. I never cared for the Jabba's palace scene. I mean, I love when Luke opens the door and then goes in and is like, "You will bring me these droids," and he's like, "Ho ho ho!" But once he falls down into the Rancor pit, I think it's just 80s action movie.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I hate the fact that Boba Fett, the way he dies, it's blind. The Tarzan scream from Chewbacca, oh, when he's swinging, like it goes from these movies are made for kids to, hey man, these movies are really made for kids. Watch this one. Some of the best parts of Star Wars is in that film, like when they're on that bridge, and that little where the AT-AT is connecting with the shuttle station, and Luke and Vader meet, and Luke's in the cuffs.
Yeah.
That, and he looks at the saber he's crafted. Oh god, it's so good. And then, you failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi like my father before me. All that is gold. Do not get me wrong. But 25 minutes of a movie can't redeem the rest of it for me. Sorry. Whenever I watch that one, I groan, I think, more and more each time. Like, oh my god, these guys hate the prequels. Why? Like, these original trilogy people that are, like, coming at my prequel movies. Like, you want to make fun of Jar Jar? Have you watched this movie? But they've seen it so many times since they were little bitty, and they don't realize that that's the way I feel about Jar Jar Binks and freaking
Yeah.
Phantom Menace. I've watched that movie since I was little and like grown up with it.
Yeah, because we went and watched them in theaters.
Yeah. Well, we didn't watch Phantom Menace in theaters.
No.
That was a little before.
Just a little.
A little younger then. But yeah, so that's the list. I guess we'll probably post our list in the comments, so you can just look at them if you want to refresh yourself. And that's it until the next theatrical release Star Wars film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know what you thought about the movie. We're curious. I want to chat it up in the comments. And if you like what we're doing and you like our commentary and our banter, we have a whole show called Sirenicide that you can check out, and we have a ton of Q&As and questions where we basically do this to that story.
Yeah.
And talk and shoot the shit. So
that's it.
Check out Sirenicide at sirenicide.com, and we have an anthology podcast coming out this year with a bunch of anthology, scary stories, mystery stories, and things like that. So if you like Star Wars or Legacy of Kain or Game of Thrones or things like that, I think you'll like our story-driven narratives.
I think so.
And that's it. Bye.
Bye.